Barry Waldrep, he's lightning fast, but he can also play some tender stuff too. His bag of tricks is real deep, whether it's playing mandolin, banjo, or guitar, and he can play any of them very well.
I want y'all to welcome my friend, Mr. Barry Waldrep, one of the finest pickers that I know.
He's just a majestic-looking creature. You know, he's been playing a long time. You know, and he lives it. You know, he's a great guy. He's a fair guy and an incredible musician and one of my best friends.
No stranger to the stage, musician-songwriter Barry Waldrep was virtually born into bluegrass music. His dad James, a well-known picker during the 60s and 70s on the Southern Bluegrass Festival circuit, put a guitar in his hand when Barry was only 4 years old. By the time he was 8, Barry was more than skilled on both mandolin and guitar and was wowing crowds at fiddlers' conventions and bluegrass festivals all over the South. It didn't take long to realize Barry had a gift. People could barely believe that this little kid could be such an accomplished musician. Barry added another weapon to his arsenal when he picked up the banjo, and by the time he was just entering his teens, he was standing on stage side by side with the father of bluegrass, Bill Monroe. Now, while his roots were firmly planted in traditional bluegrass ways, other influences began calling, and soon Barry was mixing his lightning-fast licks with the southern rock sounds he heard from Leonard Skinner, the Allman Brothers, and the Charlie Daniels Band. But not content to just mimic others, Barry set out to develop a sound all his own, and yet again, people were paying attention. His mix of blazing speed and soulful style stopped audiences in their tracks and turned them on to a different kind of sound as he made his way around the country with Rollin' in the Hay, a Birmingham-based band Barry started. Where once he sat at the knees of the greats, Barry was now himself influencing a new generation of musicians.
You can't live in Alabama and not know about Rollin' in the Hay. It's impossible, you know.
Rollin' in the Hay would come through Carrollton, and we'd see them jam out. And they were incredible bluegrass players. And then as we started touring a lot, we ended up touring a circuit in Birmingham, ended up playing at this place called Dave's Pub. And we alternated Sundays with Rollin' in the Hay a good bit. So everywhere we played, we'd see the hay stickers up, and Barry would be in there picking his ass off.
I met Barry about 10 years ago and saw him playing in his bluegrass band. And he was so flattering because he came right up to me and he was familiar with my old band and some of the stuff that I had done. And we just struck up a great conversation. And then I stuck around and listened to him play, and I was like, wow. Why don't I know this guy? Where did he come from, you know?
I'd never seen anybody play banjo, mandolin, and acoustic guitar as fast as he did, because growing up I listened to a lot of heavy metal, and the stuff that he was doing, it sounded like, you know, heavy metal on acoustic instruments or something, because it was just so fast. And he was amazing at everything that he played, but the thing that really caught my attention was banjo. He was just the best banjo player I'd ever seen in my life.
Barry's seamless blend of the traditional with the modern has given him the rare ability to easily move among a variety of musical genres, and has allowed him to create a true fusion of styles.
Music is something that doesn't like boundaries. He's definitely an artist in that sense, that he comes from a strong tradition, but he's not stuck there.
Barry really exudes an openness when it comes to music. It doesn't matter the genre. I think that inside his head and his heart, he hears the possibilities.
Barry's ability to interpret music is rooted in traditional music, but he has gone so far past that. He is one of the greatest improvisational players I've played with, but he still has the traditional roots.
With a stage presence that matches his talent, Barry commands the attention of not only those who come to see him, but also those who share the stage.
Anything I throw at him, he can do. Not only can he do it, he seems to make it better. And that's true talent right there.
With Barry, what you get is the ability to have spontaneity in your show. You don't know what to expect, and sometimes you catch yourself looking across the stage at him and he just grins because he knows that he did something that blew you away. And when it blows you away, it's going to blow the crowd away.
he's always going to be on point. I mean, I've never heard Barry off. Barry's just not off. He's always on.
I remember one time I saw Barry play it. He just starts taking a solo, and it's just like at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And I was like, oh man, he must have switched to banjo, you know? And then I look up at the TV and I'm like, that's a guitar. And then I turn away and I listen, and I'm like, man, he's playing it so hard it sounds like a banjo. So I went back in the other room and I stood right in front of him. I was like, that sounds like a damn banjo. And it's a guitar. And I just couldn't believe the strings were staying on it.
Barry's amazing talent is not just found in the speed and intensity with which he plays. It also shines through the intrinsic way he interprets a song. It's this innate ability that has made him as valuable in the studio as he is on the stage.
I decided I really wanted to get some really good mandolin and some good banjo, and when it comes to that, I mean, if you want that good bluegrass sound, then I mean, you got to go to Barry.
He came down and played on a couple of things that I did, and Barry just absolutely saved those sessions in my eyes, you know, because he's got such good sensibility of knowing not just what part to play, but really which instrument would make sense. And a lot of times, you know, I would say, hey, why don't we let's put a dobro on this. He'd go, well, honestly, you know, maybe a dobro would be too heavy, you know, for this particular vibe. And he said, let me try this. And he'd pick up his banjo, or he'd pick up, you know, another instrument, and just give me a lot of options. And only a pro would do that.
As a producer, when you're doing a record, you've got all these incredible musicians, and you can ask them what you want and kind of evoke whatever mood or feeling or whatever you can get out of them. And that's a cool thing to have, but musicians got to have a lot of depth to them, and he does.
Now, while talent opens the door, it's professionalism and adaptability that provide true staying power. And it's here that Barry really makes his mark.
I call him a super pro. You know, to me, a super pro is a guy that plays great and, you know, is obviously very experienced as a musician, but Barry's just a great hang.
Barry's probably as professional as anybody I've ever dealt with. You never had to worry about Barry being drunk at the end of the night. You never had to worry about him not showing up. He was an ultimate professional.
I've been a band leader before, and I've had all different types of musicians, and I got really lucky with the bunch that I have. But you go through a lot of cats to find guys like Barry.
Barry Waldrep is a world-class talent. Years of experience belie a youthful hunger herd when he has an instrument in his hand. Combine that with a quiet professionalism and a confidence that fits an arena or a studio, and there's no question, there's a voice in those fingertips that needs to be heard.
Barry Waldrep, y'all.